I'm a Singaporean who just turned 35. So if you're in your 30s, stop whatever you're doing and watch this video. Because 35 in Singapore is not just a generic age milestone. And I don't mean it in a motivational poster kind of way. You see, the government literally sets 35 as the age cutoff where you can start applying for HDB flats as a single. Because by this age of 35, you should be fully capable of making adult decisions that will affect the rest of your life. And CPF decisions start to get really real because in just 20 years' time, that's where some people can start withdrawing their CPF. And then you look at your career trajectory. You're no longer a fresh grad or an entry-level employee. It is no longer that uncertain. In fact, there is already a clear path if you are already following it. So the next 5 years of your remaining 30s would echo the rest of your 40s and 50s, which is why 35 is a very important age. So for those of you who are around this age range, I will discuss 3 things today. Number 1, your income. Number 2, your housing. And finally, investing. And if you're new here, my name is Chris, an ex-chartered accountant turned personal finance YouTuber, and I have been running a free Telegram group of close to 23,000 members, so you can join us there for more money talk. Now, I want to first talk about income and career, because that's what most Singaporeans love to talk about and discuss. But I'm going to start with this uncomfortable question. Are you at least earning a median income of Singapore at 35? Because the recent median income for year of 2025 was $5,775, which statistics come from the Ministry of Manpower. So that was in fact last year's number in 2025. So if you're projecting a 2026 number, you will need to add some inflation on top of it. Now at age 35, most of you would have at least 10 years to 12 years of working experience. So you're considered a mid-career professional. You're no longer the entry-level professional if you're stayed in the same profession. And the employment market already has around 10 years to assess your experience and your skills. There is no more allowance or excuses to say that you're still figuring out, like a fresh grad or junior employee. Nothing of that. You're already 35. You need to be responsible. If you look at your friends around you right now, some of them are still working in entry-level jobs. Some of them are already in middle management, managing a small team. Some of them may already be a director of a company. And some others may have started their own hustles, whether as a self-employed or running their own businesses. So at this age, you'll find that everyone is on a completely different trajectory. Your classmates that were with you during high school or university may turn out very different from what you expect, because everyone has different motivations in life, and some of them are caught up by family, some of them are caught up by bad habits, while some of them may have very lucky opportunities that accelerated their path. And this is the unavoidable truth, is that at this age, you will start losing friends. Not those kind of dramatic stories where you don't become friends anymore because of betrayals, because of backstabbing, those kind of teenager problems, but it's because of the reality. You think about it, especially when people are in their 30s, they start to have different motivations and different things that they follow. They may be building a family, they may shift their focus because they are now more focused on their own family rather than hanging out with friends. It is just the hard truth that people shift their focus during their 30s, whether on their own family, whether on wealth building, whether on building their own businesses, rather than just idling around and hanging out with the same friend crowd that they had in their past 20 years of life. So at this age of 35, you really need to be intentional of who you surround yourself with, because there's this saying, you are the average of the 5 people that you hang out with most. So if you surround yourself with successful people or highly motivated people, you'll be around the average of them. But if you surround yourself with bad company, negative habits, negative behaviors, then you will soon follow their habits as well. And if everyone around you has stopped growing or staying stagnant, then you realize that you will soon become one yourself. And that is the fact of life, because we are shaped by our own environment and our connections. So at age 35, you really need to be careful. And I want to highlight that there's nothing wrong about staying mediocre, but you have to acknowledge and accept the fact that you will just receive a mediocre outcome, right? You will just earn an average or median salary, then you will not be a high performer. And that's nothing to be ashamed about. Just that you have to acknowledge that there are some people who work harder for their goals, or they may be just lucky, and you don't have to be envious of them, because you are running your own journey. So that's interesting for income and career, right? You realize that those people who have been in school with you, suddenly, why in their 30s look so different compared to what you really expect of them when they were still in school with you. And with that, we move on to the second part that I want to talk about, and that is housing. Now at age 35, it is a key age because singles can start to purchase public housing. In Singapore, we call them HDBs. Now, for HDBs, there are two kinds. One, we call them the build-to-order, BTO flat, which are brand new flats, and there are resale flats that are second-hand. So, for age 35, you can either choose to purchase a BTO new flat, but you're only limited to 2-room flats and not able to apply for the larger 3-room, 4-room, or even 5-room new flats. But if you were to purchase a resale flat, then there's no such restriction, just that you have to purchase at the open market housing price, which may be much more expensive than a BTO government subsidized price. So the good thing about BTO is that it is brand new, it is cheaper, but it takes a very long time to build, around 3 to 4 years. And you need to fight against a pool of other applicants who are also applying for the same project as you. So it is not a 100% guarantee. And for new flats, the locations may be quite limited, so you need to be more flexible. Don't expect to stay really close to your parents unless you are really lucky. For resale flats, it will cost you much more because now you can pick the exact flat that you want, whether in location, whether in size. And the good news is older resale flats are usually bigger because they were designed for larger families in the past compared to more recent BTO flats. So an underrated move for a 35 years old who is single and able to apply for public housing is that they usually buy a bigger resale flat and they stay in 1 bedroom and rent out the rest of the bedrooms. This is something known as house hacking because your tenants are now helping you to pay that mortgage with their rental. I mean, that is if you can accept that you have tenants living with you and you lose a bit of freedom and you just have to manage a little bit of tenant issues and everyone has to get along. But the good news is if you can manage it well, it can definitely offset a huge part of your mortgage plus any form of property expense. I would say at least 50%. So if you are willing to live with tenants, I think it's one of the most strategic financial moves that you should make, especially if you are 35 and single. Now, there's also another interesting situation, especially if you're single at 35, because you realize that some of these singles, they actually had the capability to purchase a private property either in their late 20s or early 30s because they had the income and money and capital to place a down payment and afford the mortgage repayments. But some of them wait till 35 because they just feel that the private property is overpriced, they do not want to stretch that budget, and they prefer not to be financially trapped. But I guess you also need to consider the opportunity cost of waiting, because if you were able to purchase that private property, let's say at age 30, you have 5 good years of staying alone and being in a freedom state where you could even expand to more income sources, you could work on more projects, or you could bring in a higher salary because you're more work efficient rather than living in your original family. And the truth is, Singapore property prices had not been kind to those who have waited until age 35, then they purchased a public property because we were going through a property bull run all these years. So the opportunity cost of waiting for a 35 years old single is really real. You felt that you were saving money waiting for the opportunity to buy a public housing HDB flat. But in fact, when you had the capability 5 years ago, but you didn't make that decision, then you in fact cost more on opportunity. So you could ask yourself honestly at 35, did that math work out? Did it really felt right making that decision? Of course, I'm not inducing you to buy property because this is not a property investment channel and I'm not for it. But if you have a really honest calculation with it, you will then find the answer. And it's different from people to people. But don't beat yourself too much if you have regretted it, because we cannot reverse our time and we cannot reverse our life. So we move on to the next important pillar, and that is investing. Yes, you are already late compared to someone who just turned 21 and opened their brokerage account and started dollar cost average since they was a university student. But you're still considered very early compared to someone in their 40s or 50s, or worse, they never even thought of investing for their retirement. So don't let the guilt of starting late become a reason for you to not start at all. And for those of you who don't even understand what investing is, I would really encourage you to subscribe to the channel right now, because I talk a lot about investing for young professionals, especially if they do not want to come back to these videos many years later and regret that they should have started investing earlier. And I'm very sure by the age of 35, your friends around you will be one of this party. Friend number 1 got burnt picking stocks, always picking the wrong stocks, and one day he just stopped everything, stopped investing and swore off the stock market, saying that it's a scam, it's just gambling, and never invested any money again. Friend number 2, always researching on what's the best stocks to buy, what's the current market economic news, what's Trump gonna say and affect the stock market. But he's still researching. He never even started or executed any trades or orders. He is still trying to find his way. And finally, friend number 3, quietly buying, don't talk much about investing, just dollar cost average or lump sum whenever his salary comes in, and don't really talk about it because his or her friends in the circle probably don't invest anyway, so there's no point to really share about. So generally, these are the 3 character profiles of your friends who are talking about investing at that age. But what is more important is that at age 35, you should be able to find your own style if you have started investing, whether in index funds, whether you are picking stocks, whether you are dollar cost averaging, lump sum, or crash buy. And I can give you the standard principle answer on textbook, and that is dollar cost average into a broad-based diversified index fund. Don't look at the market too much. When the market goes up, you continue buying. When the market goes down, you continue buying. Don't get too bothered about the market volatility and the news because that's going to affect your emotions. So you just shut off and just remember to contribute to the dollar cost average RSP strategy every month. Keep your investing passive, don't think about it too much. Work on your active income and be more involved in increasing your active income plus increasing your multiple income sources if that is possible. Because there's so much noise around the financial markets and investments and market news that's going to affect your emotions. All these are just going to affect and stop people who are trying to invest consistently. And I'm very sure you've seen all these programs, right? Investment or trading courses, inner circles promising you that they can help you deliver high returns and trying to prove that they can beat the market with their secret stocks that will supercharge your return. Now, I've been on financial YouTube for more than 5 years and I see a lot of these guys vanish into thin air, or their channels go quiet and their Telegram groups go dark. Ultimately, at the end, you will realize that the boring strategy is the one that actually works, but nobody really likes to use the boring strategy because it is not exciting. You cannot be rich fast. You can only watch the returns compound over time in the long term, and that's where you start feeling the gains. So I've been investing for 12 years, and I could honestly tell you that my first few years of investing were not profitable at all because I made all the mistakes, right? I chase after hype stocks, I pick stocks, I try to think that I can beat the market with my own stock market secret strategy and follow other hype and economic news that could really mess with your emotions. So I regretted it. I should have just followed the boring strategy from the start. And if you're curious on what platform I'm using to invest, I'm currently using Interactive Brokers, which is not sponsored. It's just that this is the main brokerage I use because of their low cost and their very favorable FX rates. So if you want to support this channel, you like what I say, then you can help me click this Interactive Brokers link, and you don't even have to sign up because it pays me a small commission for every click I receive. So thank you to all those who support, or you can scan this QR code right here. But the more important thing is to at least have the intention to start investing. You don't need to be a perfect investor. You just need to follow the same boring strategy that I adopted and watch it slowly grow. Okay, don't chase for hype, don't chase for fast gains. It's not going to end well in the long term. So at age 35, especially if you are single, it is just a checkpoint. It is not the end point. In fact, it is not even the midpoint. Your income, your housing, and your investment decisions are more important than ever because you can no longer hide behind the fact that you are in your 20s, you're still making mistakes, you have a lot of excuses, and even in your early 30s, some of you still haven't even figured it out. But by age 35, you should be clear on what you really want and what you really don't want in life. And I know that this video is specifically targeted to age 35 singles, but I felt that for those of you who are still looking for love, you shouldn't give up yet because many people still find love in their late 30s or even early 40s, so you're still not too late. Probably if there is enough demand and if you comment married, I'll probably do a follow-up video on those married people by the age of 35. Because now, instead of just one single person, there's now 2 of you, and you need to make all these life decisions together. So yes, comment married if you want a follow-up episode. And for those of you who are still stuck in the beginner stage, you don't even know where to start investing, then I would strongly recommend you to watch my video on how to invest for beginners in Singapore right here.